You are tuned into uGospel.com. Of course, I'm Mike Jones, and today we're going to do an interview with second male winner of BET Sunday's Best, which can only be none other than Mr. Geoffrey Golden. Geoffrey, man, what's up? How are you doing?
Well, hey, Brother Mike, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing good, rather. It's a nice day, and I'm on the phone with you today talking about this album that you just put out. So this is your debut project, man. So how do you feel to have your own music out there?
Wow, yes, sir. It is really surreal, just to think about where God has brought me in just a short time. I'm so excited about this album, not just because of the songs, but I really believe that there's a message that God ordained, through this record, and so I'm excited for people to hear this body of work, and I'm hoping that the message of a Kingdom Live, really resonate in their hearts, and I'm hoping that people will take these songs and that it will help them grow in Christ, and that hopefully also these are songs that people can minister at their churches, so just to kind of have this album out now, and it's really something that we can be proud of, because it wasn't just because we had worked so hard, but it really was because I believe that every step of the way God was ordaining this, so I'm so excited to have it out now.
What was it like to have your first piece of work being a live album? Because you know how, and even going back in Sunday Best History, a lot of them didn't even have original music for their first albums. A lot of them were like covers. But for you to go and do a live album, how did that make you feel, or what made you choose to do a live album versus a studio album for your debut project?
Wow, again, it's just so crazy how God works things out and how He ordains things, and how when He is ordained for something to be so, that's just the way that it's going to be. I had known, that, even before I had gone on Sunday Best, and, I was, being faithful, leading worship at my church, and, at some point, I guess back in 2013 is, when I was really kind of feeling God leading me, to really begin to pursue gospel artistry, because a lot of times we just think about ministry, and we think about being faithful at our churches and, leading praise and worship and directing the choir. But when you talk about becoming an artist, there really are, some other things that are involved with that, that you just don't realize. But even before I had gone on Sunday Best for the second time, because I had auditioned for Sunday Best 2013 back for season 6, and I didn't make it out of the preliminary audition round, but I felt that God was calling me, into this ministry as a gospel artist. And so, as I began making preparations for that, and as I began writing songs, and I'm trying to put out recordings, of those singles, I really felt that whenever it was time to do the full-length record, that I would really want to do it live, because my heart really has been for worship leading, for seeing kind of what God does when His people come together, and when He can just, minister to us collectively, and, how we can just minister back to Him in our worship. So I knew that I wanted to, really catch that on my first, full album, and then to see kind of what happened with Sunday Best, and, just how God blessed and increased me with that show. And, once we got finished, and, once I had won, we met with Kirk Franklin, and, and I told him, and this was just a faith move. I was saying, hey, I really, really want to do this, I really want to do my first record live, knowing that it might cost more money, knowing that it might not be as simple as doing a studio record, but I just took that to him, and I said that I would really like to do it. And he told me, he said, even before you won, I said that if you did win and if you were signed to my label, your first album was going to be live, and so we were right there on one accord, so, the dream that God had placed in me to do my first album live, even before I had gone on Sunday Best, even before I won Sunday Best, He had put that same thing in Kirk Franklin's spirit. And so, we were just on one accord, and it worked.
Amen. Outside of you being a new artist, and of course this all being original music, on the day of your live performance, were you nervous of how the crowd would receive you?
Wow.
As far as performing this live, were you nervous? Did you have the jitters, or were you just like, I'm about to kill this? Or what was going through your head like 2 minutes before curtain time?
Wow, there was definitely a nervousness that was there. Just not knowing what's going to happen. I had felt that I had prepared, but, there were, of course, some things where I felt like I could have used some more time for preparation. But kind of when it got to that moment, I was confident. I had talked to my dad, and he had really encouraged me, and and really just reassured me that again, this was the Lord's doing, and that He was going to do this thing because this was His will. And so by the time for showtime, I was really convinced that okay, God, this night is in Your hands. This album, this body of work is in Your hands, and so whatever You choose to do with it is what You choose to do with it. And so I think that right before it was time to sing, I think that He had kind of filled me, with a certain confidence, not in my own gift, but certainly a confidence in what whatever His plan was going to be for that night.
As far as the album go, how hands-on were you with the project as far as, writing the songs or selecting the songs or the messages or, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes? How much of this album is Geoffrey Golden?
Wow. I have to really thank God for the setup, because I really could not have asked God for a better label to be a part of. For Your Soul Recordings, RCA is such an awesome thing because there's the intimacy of a small label, with For Your Soul, but we still have resources, because of the connection with RCA. And so, kind of, being a part of For Your Soul Recordings, really every step of the way, I was allowed to have input. Now certainly, again, things that come with being an artist, things that people don't always realize, things that people don't always think about. When you have executive producers on that album, the bottom line is the ultimate decision, for, whatever that decision may be it selecting the song, selecting the single, selecting the title of the album, album artwork, all those things, is ultimately at the discretion of the executive producers on that album, and so there is a trust that you have to have for the people who God has entrusted you to, and so you got to trust the professionals that, they know how to select songs, they know how to hear a single, they know certain things because God has graced them with that ability. But I am grateful that they allowed me to have input every step of the way, even with the selection of the songs. We all, came to those same 10 songs together, so it wasn't like anybody, was insisting on a certain song and we had to do that one. Myself, Kirk Franklin, Monica, Coach, Ron Hill, we all kind of sat down and we agreed on what that body of work would be. Then, even with the titling of the album, I just went to one of the execs and I said, hey, I would like to call it Kingdom Live. They said, okay, we like it. We're going to tell Kirk, and, he liked it as well. And so really all throughout the messaging, the songs, even though I only wrote 2 of the songs, but I really think that God has allowed for this album to really, have that imprint of what He's been doing in my life on it.
Piggybacking off of what you said as far as trusting executive producers, like who better in the gospel music industry to trust than Mr. Kirk Franklin?
Wow.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's it like? Of course, you met him while you were on the show, but what is it actually like working with him and being on his label and being someone that would say like as a mentor for you?
Well, yes, sir. Kirk Franklin is as great as a writer as he is, and I certainly believe that he's one of the most prolific, gospel songwriters of all time. As successful, of a gospel artist as he is, and he certainly is, just by sheer record sales, he is one of the most successful gospel artists of all time, if not the most successful. But what even eclipses, his anointing, his ability to write songs and to, record, music that really speaks right into people's hearts and their situations is his humility. And that's what's been the most shocking to me, not as though I expected him to be arrogant, but I understand by watching Kirk Franklin what it means to be intentional about staying humble, because sometimes, we just think, oh, it's just something, that God put in your heart. And, but really you have to be intentional about staying low before God. And that's not always an easy thing when people are buying millions of your albums, which people have done for Kirk Franklin, when people are constantly telling you how blessed they've been by your ministry, when tens of thousands of people are showing up for your tours. But something that he told me that will probably never leave me, he said, Jeff, glory is fleeting. He said, never chase the glory of the people, never pursue the praises of the people, because they can be shouting your name today, and then tomorrow nobody's calling you, nobody wants you to sing at their church. And so, you always have to chase and pursue the glory of God, even in the midst of the praises of the people, because that feels real good, for people to be calling your name. But you always got to remember what the main thing is. And I really believe that God God has continued to just shower blessings on Kirk Franklin, because of that heart, because he has made a decision to remain low and to remain humble before God, even in the midst of God elevating him. And that's why I think God continues to elevate him.
Do you have any favorite song? I always ask you it, and nobody ever answers this question. So is there a song? Well, I know you've been performing a lot lately. So of all the songs on the album, which one is your favorite to perform during a live concert or during a live show?
Yeah. And thank you for that question, because that is a lot easier,
right.
than, kind of what's the favorite song. I mean, because really, when you've been sitting with a body of work and when, you've really connected to the songs in a way because God has really done the work, it's so hard to choose. But I would say that my favorite to perform is probably Kingdom. That song is just so fun. There's so much energy, so much vibrancy, and that's the song that whenever I get to do it, there's always such a great reaction, from the audience, because we're just having fun, we're churching, we're just celebrating God, and we're celebrating the work that He's called us to do, So I certainly hope that song is a motivation to people, not just because the song feels good or sounds good, but truly because the message is something that we need. We can't stop. We have to keep going. We have to keep progressing because our goal has to be to bring His kingdom down to earth.
How can your supporters and your fans stay in contact with you or stay up to date with all of your latest news and upcoming information?
Yes, sir. Folks can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Geoffrey D. Golden, and I'll just spell it out. That's Geoffrey, Geoffrey D. Golden.
Okay. Man, I want to thank you again for this interview. Oh, wait, before we go, of course we all know by now that you performed on the season premiere of Season 8 of Sunday Best. So what was it like to return to the stage where you got your start from?
Wow. That was so fun. All the winners, we all got to, come together. We sang One More Chance with Ricky Dillard. And, we just had just a great time fellowshipping, getting to know one another better, really just getting to celebrate what God has done through Sunday Best, and I just definitely implore people to continue to support the platform of Sunday Best, because I believe that God continues to do great things through that platform, not just for artists, but I believe that the gospel community is enriched, when some folks you would have never heard of, when they have a chance and, and you can really see what God is doing in certain regions. For instance, Cleveland, we don't get a whole lot of love, but just for people to see, that, there's some great stuff coming out of our city, and I'm so excited, just for people to kind of be exposed to that, even through what God has done through me, and so I'm hoping that people will continue to support Sunday Best.
Again, people, I'm Mike Jones, and you're listening to uGospel.com with the one and only Mr. Geoffrey. You know what? I was just saying this before I got on the phone with you. Even though I watch Sunday Best and I've been hearing, Geoffrey Golden, I still call you Geoffrey. I think it's just because I read it so much, too, that it just comes out subconsciously. But I apologize for that, my brother.
No problem.
Like I was saying, this is Mike Jones, and you're listening to uGospel.com with Geoffrey Golden, whose debut album, Kingdom Live, is in stores now. Make sure you go out and grab that, people. Again, Geoffrey, thank you for this interview. Is there anything else you want to say to your fans before we go?
I just want to say just thank you so much for supporting my ministry. Thank you for watching on Sunday Best, and thank you for supporting Kingdom Live. It really, really, really means the world to me. That there's so many people who are cheering me on, and I just ask that you just continue to pray for me.
Amen. Again, man, thank you for this interview, and we wish you the absolute best.
Wow, thank you so much, Brother Mike.